what's up, witches?
What's up?
I'm Linda Hurd.
And I'm John Kane, and it's been a hot minute since we last talked to you guys.
Yes, it has. I've been busy with school.
I've been busy with work.
But today, we've got our third installment of the elemental correspondences, which is fire!
Yes, it's fire, and one of my favorites. That was a little more energetic than I was expecting. But yeah, go ahead.
All right, so fire represents the direction of south. And interestingly enough, we were just having this conversation. The elemental, the little being that represents fire, is the salamander, which happens to be an amphibian.
It does.
But we did a little digging.
And it's the animal that is listed as the representative of fire in multiple sources.
Yes.
Like more than 4.
Pretty much every book I own.
And mine. And only like one of the books that each of it is the same.
Yeah.
Well, no, 2, because there's Bucky's Big Blue Book.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Anyway, yeah, but they all say salamander, and today, well, within the last week, when did we start recording this? Like a month ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Okay, like total from part 1.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that because it just doesn't fit, and you found.
What I found is that in the mythologies, even going back to like the ancient Greeks, the salamander would hibernate in wood and logs during the winter. And when people would burn the wood on their fires, the salamander would wake up and spring from the wood, so it gave it the illusion that it was made of fire.
That's pretty fucking cool, actually.
That is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. But as we also spoke about, I mean, some of the other animals listed make more sense.
Right. Dragon, phoenix.
Yeah, the phoenix I like, personally.
Yeah, I like that one too.
As representative of fire.
I thought it was interesting that the article I found referenced the fire giants, which are akin to the frost giants that I used to call on when I did the freezer spell.
Right.
But I would call
and
on...
of North mythology.
Yes. But I would call on the fire giants when I needed to cast a truth spell.
Ah.
Because I would put it in the microwave and nuke it, and before I did that, I would have to call upon them.
Okay.
But like the frost giants, after a few times, they basically told me I didn't need to call on them anymore. Just do it.
That was freaking ingenious, though, putting it in the microwave.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. I would have found a book of matches or something.
Yeah, well, that was another one of those spells that I got from that Teen Witch book.
Ah.
But I thought it was pretty ingenious, too, because you can do it multiple times if you need to.
Right.
Like, you're supposed to do it for 7 seconds a day for 7 days, and then if you don't get your answer by then, you hold on to the paper.
Wait. 7 seconds a day for 7 days?
Yeah.
So so all you're doing is spending 7 seconds a day all day in front of the microwave?
Mm-hmm.
So when do you get anything else done?
7 seconds?
Oh. I thought you 7 seconds continuously, like doing. Never mind.
No. So
never mind, guys.
You put it in the microwave for 7 seconds.
And then
take it out.
Tomorrow you do the same thing.
Same
I
time.
was thinking continuously. Like, how else do you get it? How do you get anything else fucking done?
Oh no!
For 7 days.
No.
Anyway.
But moving on.
Moving on. So that's something to think about. Like we've talked about in other part 1 and part 2. In the in the early times of Wicca and witchcraft, information being put out there, it was very limited. There were only there were a handful of books and teachers, and unfortunately, the rule of thumb was to mislead with the written information because it
or
was
in code.
Or in code, yes. Well, and then therefore misleading them. Anyway, my point is that this is another example of that, like, and the fact that it's mythologically speaking comes from like our
Right.
right. Anyway, moving on. The time of year for fire is summer. The day of
Which especially makes
yes,
sense here in Phoenix.
in Arizona or the Middle East. The time of day is noon. The colors are red, orange, gold, white, and hot pink. I'm not sure I'm really keen on the hot pink one, but hey.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either. The zodiac signs associated with fire are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I think that makes sense for at least two of those.
Yeah.
Dylan's a Sagittarius.
Moving on. Some of the tools would be candles, and now this is again going back to, and I'll try not to get on another tangent, but we just realized the salamander one. This one we talked about before.
Right.
Many books, many teachers will say that the wand is representative of fire, and that the blade or athame is representative of air. You know, the concept of the blade being representative of air because it can cut through air, but the wand blows in the wind, it grows. You're getting a wand from a tree, from a branch, from a twig. I mean, it's more representative of air than anything else.
Right.
What we both are in agreement on is that, like, the blade makes sense. Whether it's metal, you're forging it. If it's like mine, that's obsidian. It was made by nature herself.
With fire.
With fire, in the depths and pressure of the volcanoes. So that makes more sense to me.
Right.
As being a tool of fire. Anyway, go ahead.
So the ruling planets of fire are the sun, obviously, Mars, which I think is said to be the hottest planet
Yeah.
of the solar system, and Jupiter.
Well, Mercury, I think, is.
Well, okay, yeah, Mercury and then Mars, but
Yeah.
I mean, either way, you're gonna fry.
Yeah, yeah. The stones or crystals for it are amber, of course, obsidian, ruby, of course, beautiful. Can you say that?
Rhodochrosite.
Rhodochrosite, thank
Yeah.
you. Lava, of course, garnet, fire opal, bloodstone, which I love. I don't have mine on right now, but I do love, and then red agate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rhodochrosite I think is a really interesting addition there because if I remember correctly, that stone actually has hot pink in it.
Of course it does. Which is probably where that came from. The metals are gold, brass, and copper. All three of them obvious, and you combine some of them, you get more.
Right.
So.
Right. Plants associated with fire, and some of these are definitely going to make sense. Allspice, cinnamon, basil. That one's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Garlic, fiery, hot. Juniper, hibiscus, which again is interesting to me because that is a cooling plant.
Yeah.
That's a cooling herb. Nettle.
It makes for a great decoration and a drink.
Yes, it does.
Champagne.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
It does. And it's very tasty.
It is.
It's very tasty. Nettles, onion, again, hot. Peppers, hot. Poppies.
Fun. I mean, sorry.
And thistle. Sorry.
The virtues of fire would be motivation, of course, energy, drive, pushing you forward, enthusiasm, lust, of course, excess, of course, rage, of course, and aggression, hatred, and to top it off with the cherry, jealousy.
Yep. So that was the virtues and the vices.
Oh.
That's okay. You can't tell which of the virtues are which and which were the vices. Look it up. All right? Now, fire rules passion, drive, sexuality, motivation, creation, and creativity.
Yes.
Which, I mean, that kind of makes sense because a lot
Yeah.
of times when people are being creative, it's like
They're
somebody's.
manic as fuck.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's like somebody's lit a fire under them.
Right.
And they're just like going.
Or we call it manic, but that's. Anyway.
Right.
That's a whole nother discussion and recording.
It also rules desire and energy, enthusiasm, like you said before, protection, healing, which kind of makes sense because a lot of times when, like,
Well,
if
do you think protection makes sense to everybody?
um,
Or the reasons why it would be protective?
well, I mean, for me, it makes sense because if you're trying to protect something, there's usually like a passion to do it. Like
Well, that
You're-
and fire will keep things away.
you know,
So, like in ancient
Sure.
times, our ancestors would build fires to keep animals away so they could sleep soundly.
right? And to make it easier for the watchmen to see things in the dark
Right.
that didn't belong. But
You said transformative
I said healing.
healing.
Which makes sense to me because especially
Well,
like
yeah.
if you have a cut or a scrape, when it heals, it
gets
itches
hot.
and burns.
Yeah, it gets hot.
Yeah, it gets hot.
Yep.
When you're sick, you generally will have a fever. You are burning hot.
Feed a fever, starve a cold. That's what the old wives did. The wives did. The old saying: you feed a fever. If you're feeling hot, bundle up, burn it out, and
Oh, is that what that is?
yes,
Oh,
feed a fever,
okay.
starve a cold. So, and if you're cold, it's basically the same thing. It's basically bundle the fuck up all the time. Because the opposite of cold would
Right.
be bundling up. So, anyway.
Right. Okay.
Anyway.
Well, moving on.
Moving on.
Transformation, which makes sense
It is
to me. Yes, it can be. Mostly because in the forests, things like pine trees, they cannot proliferate without
Right.
fire.
Right.
The fire needs to burst open the pine cone so the seeds can spread. And that's it, with some plants or trees, that's the only way they can proliferate.
Like the pine.
You know, they need that.
Right.
But also there are other things like we mentioned with your blade. You know, taking it from one thing to another. It goes from, hot molten lava to some beautiful piece of stonework.
Right.
A regular blade, you put in a piece of iron ore to a fire and it becomes molten, and then you can hammer it into whatever you want it to be.
Right.
So yeah, I think fire can be very transformative, but it also rules destruction, which makes sense.
Makes it transformative. You're turning ore, you're destroying the ore,
Right.
and making it into something. Anyway. Okay.
Right. It also rules heat, which is a no-brainer there. Flame and light, because that's what fire is. It is flame and light.
Right.
And heat, because where there is light, there is heat.
Indeed. Unless it's an LED. No, there's still heat. We just can't feel it. I'm being a smartass, in case you guys. So, that's part 3. Trois. Our last one will be water. We are going to be doing a recording or cast for Yule and Christmas. And based on this show, there will probably be several shorts that are put out too. But I just wanted to say, in case nobody noticed, this is the coolest Christmas fucking shirt I have ever had. All right? Do a snap shot of it and then expand it. It's a fucking Star Destroyer being pulled by 4 AT-ATs across the full Death Star / that's not a moon. Okay? And if you look really closely, the lead is fucking Rudolph. There's a little red dot. I love this shirt. I love Star Wars, but this is the ultimate Christmas shirt. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. We're going to be talking to you again because we're putting out number 4 before Christmas.
Yes.
And of course going to do the one on Yule. But I just wanted to... Star Wars rocks.
He wanted to wave his Star Wars nerd flag.
Thank you. Good night, y'all.
Keep an eye out also for some other demonstration videos. We do have Wish Powder coming up, which is a good activity to do with young children who still believe in magic. And a few others. I just need to get the research and the ingredients for them. But if you are looking for more information about us, about what we do, you can hit us up on our Instagram at Getting Witchy Podcast. You can also check out our Etsy store, which is the number 3, Sisters Botanicals AZ. Until next time, peace out, witches.
Be good to each other.